White. Calls it the low hanging fruit, and I get it. I don't want to mention the Joneses as like the easy escape, but
Right,
when we see all these things that keep on happening, Tuck, where does it start from?
right,
Every coach that's coming here has been the same thing.
right, right.
I mean, every coach has come in here and think about it. It still has Jones's and playing. When Mike McCarthy came over, do you really think he knew about Kellen Moore and said, "This is my offensive coordinator"? No, that
Right,
was Jerry and them saying, "No, Kellen Moore, you can bring in whoever you want, but Kellen Moore's staying."
right,
That's them.
right,
Just
right,
like when Wade Phillips, when he hired his team, who he said, "No, Jason Garrett's your offensive coordinator."
right. And it's funny you mentioned that because I told Steele this other day on Wednesday. The only thing that's holding me back from wanting to fire Mike McCarthy because Kellen Moore is the bridge. Like Mike McCarthy is the bridge for Kellen Moore to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Like
I've been saying
yeah,
that. That's
it's
why they didn't
coming.
get rid of him. I
Right,
said that years ago.
right,
And Sky was like, "Nah." I'm like, "Okay." People were like, "Nah." I'm like, "Why do you think they brought him in? They wanted to bring him and groom him like the Jason Garrett." That's
right,
what Jerry wants. And Jerry wants to groom him so Jerry can say, "I did this."
right,
People don't understand. Jerry always wants to come back and say, "I did this." I don't know the friction that happened with him and Jimmy Johnson. I wasn't behind the scenes, but
right.
I'm gonna tell you right now, when you see that separation that happened, what do you think it was? Because Jimmy Johnson was that football brain. Jimmy
Right,
Johnson was being shrewd. Let's do this. Let's do that.
right,
Jerry had that money. Jerry had that money. Okay, let's go ahead and do this. So Jerry's like, "Nah, you know what? I'm the owner, you the coach. I did this. I had the money to get this. You get what I'm saying?"
right,
So that's when that ego stuff, and it wasn't like those guys was, oh, those guys were no 50 year old ages. And now Jimmy left. You don't think that conversation was, "I don't need you. I can get anybody because these damn Cowboys." You get what I'm saying? I
right,
can get anybody to do this. You
right.
feel me?
And
You
then
don't
he
think
did
that's the
it.
conversation? And when he did it, guess what?
Right,
Now he try to look so smart. And guess what? He's not looking so smart because the stats prove it. 24 years, dog. We won 4 playoff games in 24 years,
right,
man. 14 missed playoff appearances. Every single coach goes through the same thing. We underachieve, same mistakes, bad penalties, holding calls, taking back, winning the game. Team comes back in the second half. This ain't new.
right, right. It's the same old, man. So with that, what is your expectations for the rest of the season, bro? And I know everyone's torn on this. I see in the chat we still gonna win the playoffs. You know, they got
I
high
don't. I
hopes.
mean, do we really want to go in the playoffs? I'm gonna just. This is my feelings with it, Tuck.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not a tanker. I promise you. I don't like to tank. I don't like to lose. I don't like to
Right.
do that. I'm gonna say every game you go out there fight. You know what I
Right.
mean? But at the end of the day, dog, man, once that got hurt, and I'm like, Andy Dalton's not taking us to no Super Bowl. I'm sorry, I don't believe that.
Right.
I'm sorry. He ain't never did nothing in the playoffs. I've watched Andy Dalton since he was here at Cincinnati, since I'm out here in Ohio. He's an okay quarterback, but he's working with a defense that's the worst in the league.
Right.
Special teams who's not good,
Right.
offensive line that's makeshift, and all of a sudden Andy Dalton's going to raise up and just take us here and take us to a promised land.
Right.
I don't care how bad this division is. Yeah, we may have a chance because this division is bad, but Dallas ain't going nowhere. I'm saying that the offense, the powers that be start thinking, who are we keeping? Mike McCarthy, if this guy is going to be our guy the next few years, then Mike McCarthy need to be thinking who's going to be my guys from here on out. Right. And I need to start playing guys that needs to be seeing who are going to be my guys. Because if you ain't going to be my guys, some of these high-priced guys are going to have outs in the next few years. Right. They need to start thinking about those things, especially if you don't beat Washington. If you don't beat Washington, you already better start thinking about what we doing and what we planning. Don't tell nobody about it, but you better start planning in the background and start figuring out who you trying to manipulate as far as cap moves, guys you want to bring in, guys, because that's what it needs to be. Because it got to be a changeover because it's not your guys; those are Garrett's people. And if you're not feeling that, then you need to figure that out. Especially if you lose to a Washington football team.
Right. And here's what I'm telling you, bro. I agree with you, bro. I'm not a tank guy. I don't want y'all to go out there and give half effort and start losing games on purpose. But I will say two things. No matter the effort that we give, there's not a lot left on our schedule that we can actually beat that I feel confident we can beat. And like I said the other night, I was sitting back watching the Cincinnati Bengals, unfortunately, because that was the only game I had on my channel. And I sit there and watch their offense, and I thought, damn, they way too explosive for our defense. That's the type of team.
They can beat us.
Yeah, the Cincinnati Bengals, who just had the #1 pick, they could beat us. I feel like confident when we play Cincinnati. I would feel confident putting my money on Cincinnati to beat us. That's how bad our defense has been this season. And what I also tell people is like you just said, bro. If the season is not going to go as we originally planned, playoffs, make a deep push. Now is the time to go into evaluation mode. Play some of these young guys. Let's see what Bradley and I can do. Let's see what Reggie Robinson do. Let's see what Connor Williams might be able to do at right tackle. Let's start to evaluate some of this talent that we got on the team. But for sitting out there and running out Terrence Steele and these different things like that and not really making any adjustments, the defensive side of the ball is still the same starters. Let's try a different rotation. Mix things up a little bit. Maybe say, you know what, Everson Griffin this week. I saw Mike McCarthy. He said it out of his own mouth. Randy Gregory comes back. He said that'll possibly be a spot on special teams. Like, what are we talking right now? Like, we need all firepower out there on the field on Sunday, but he's talking about possibly putting Randy Gregory on special teams. I'm like, no, like, switch things up. Say, you know what? We're going to pull Everson Griffin out. We're going to start Randy Gregory and see what this thing really looks like. So like you said.
I hope he was joking when he said that. I hope he didn't really mean that, because that would be crazy in my dome that you would actually say Randy Gregory play some damn special teams. Randy Gregory ain't playing no damn special teams. Randy Gregory need to put his hand in the ground, and that's one guy, put his damn hand in the ground,
right.
Let him rush that quarterback and let him get at him. And like you said, make the tough decision. You know what? Everson Griffin, I know you're a veteran, but guess what? Guys aren't playing, because I will say this. Ron Marinelli, he would sit your ass down.
Right.
You know, I would go, you know, I would get frustrated with the defense because the plays, I wasn't really getting so much mad at Marinelli. I was frustrated with him, but I was frustrated with the players. But one thing Marinelli would do, if you wasn't running to that ball, if you wasn't going after guys, you weren't going to play next week. You'll be deactivated. You would be deactivated, because remember when we brought Benson Mayo, you're like, why has he been benched for like 3 weeks? Because he wasn't making plays. Taco wasn't dressing.
Right.
So if you're not going after the ball, he's going to do it. And I feel like you got a guy who you need help with,
right?
Who has that damn bend,
right?
And Griffin is not doing it. So, or him, if you don't bench Griffin, put him in at a 3 tech and bench Dorrance Armstrong Jr.
Right. Or, you know, and John Terry Poe, man, we saw the Hamilton kid come in.
Play Hamilton.
Yeah, play Hamilton. Let these kids get a
Poe's
run.
not going to be there long term. You could cut Poe. It ain't going to kill you on the cap.
Right. Put some of these young kids who are out there, they're hungry to make a name for themselves and get their money, get their payday. Put them out there and see what they can do, man. But like I said,